And JPS, thank you for getting it back up so quickly though. Could have been for the entire night, and not going to miss this history lesson with the great one, Doctor. And I told him to put the Doctor down until after the program. Is National Master, the young chess great during his time, boy. And nobody more feared in Jamaica as a young player than Kevin Brown. So, good night again, John. Happy that you waited. So, Kev, we cut off at Bishop C5. So,
okay.
Yeah, man. So, let's walk them through.
Right. Okay. So, Bishop C5, and he defends the bishop. Sorry, defends the knight with Bishop E3. And I continue putting the pressure on that D4 knight.
With Queen F6.
This is a classical variant of the Scotch. And he does, and I develop my, and there's also the potential of playing D5, not necessarily right away, but trying to battle for that D5 square. So he plays bishops C4, competing on that square, and there moves. I mean, you could just castle. The problem with castling is that after knight takes, I can't play bishop takes e3 because knight takes knight is no check, right? So after knight 6, I play queen times c6. I think white has a positional advantage. Queen has moved.
Okay.
Twice and sits on the 6. So at this point, I end up playing B. Decided to just defend with east, and then he castled. Having cast again, trying to put the question to this bishop. He plays b2. What black has to be careful in the Scotch that his queen comes here early doesn't get himself into a bind, you know. So you have to be careful with that queen. So queen
G6.
G6, straightening E4, and I start to play right. So this is a very sharp move, and apparently Beliavsky, I think Beliavsky recently, about 6 months before the Olympiad, which I didn't know about.
Hold on, Kev, the
pawn sacrifice.
Hold on, Kev, walk that back to you again because we lost your voice when you're saying Beliavsky.
Right.
So what happened with Beliavsky?
Right, this position. Right, so this position was reached about 6 months before the Olympiad. Beliavsky was playing white, and his opponent played B h5, and he took. Well, you have to take here. It's a pawn stack. Pawn stack, and then after knight d2, Beliavsky played queen d3, and his opponent played bishop e2, queen g, bishop h5, and the game ended in a
draw.
A quick draw. I didn't know about
one of the good things
game, but I knew that I wanted to keep going.
One of the good things about that time, Kev, is that you had to work on your own. So had it been this computer time with all the software, everybody would have known the game, and it wouldn't have been any secret. But the fact that you didn't meant that you worked on your own and produced a gem.
That's right. That's Queen H4. Very interesting move. And he went. My opponent went into a very long think here. Right? Went into a very long thing, and then hit 5. Right? Now there are many ways for black to proceed here. Probably the safest route is to castle and allow knight takes c7. After knight c7, we will play, for instance, if castle, knight c7, rook b8, right? And we have a fairly balanced game at this point, you know. However, just going back. However, I thought that I could win at least 2 pieces for a rook here, although the position would be very unbalanced. So I played bishop takes e3. Very sharp game. You know, as I said, castle would have been probably the safest move. And again, Antonio went into a very long think, and he played knight. Right, I thought he would have played knight c7, but he took. Knight c7 would have been very interesting. Position is knight. Alright, actually, this might be a mistake. He plays here, and if I play and he takes knight, then he has this.
And c7 also, queen c7. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, queen b8, queen c7. Yeah, it's dangerous. Rooks on the file.
The white is good here.
Yeah, the rooks on the file,
dangerous.
everything. Yeah. This would give you no pleasure at all, Kevin. None.
Yes, very dangerous there.
Yeah.
However, this move, queen f8, he plays here, take, knight c6, rook, threatening queen d8, mate, f6.
But this is down here, Ali man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, maybe people might want to play with the white pieces because of the open lines, but if black can survive,
the 2 pieces, yes, 2 pieces will be good.
Yeah, his 2 pieces would be good. So I think he just decided not to go into it in this variation. So he see if I can go back. Right. So instead, I think this is possibly you know, and again here, if I want to play it safe, I could just castle. But I went for this move, which
there's no safe in your vocab that day, man.
Yeah, I went for this move, and this is a very long thing. And then he played bam. Right. Now once I saw this move, chess, as you know, chess is a psychological, and I looked at the move and I realized I can't make it. So what I did was I made the move after about 2 minutes, and I made the move, got up confidently, pressed the clock, and Antonio thought after this for about an Wow.
Tell you about the confidence, my friend.
And I think psychologically, because after the game, he rattled off a series of moves, of combinations, which even though they weren't clear cut, it showed that he had seen deeply into the position. You know, for instance, he could play QB3 here, which is interesting. Of course, if he played E3, E4, you know,
Wow.
and the position gets very, very unclear.
It's just tactics all over the place.
You know, but he didn't play Queen B3, and I think he blundered here. And I think what made this blunder possible was my reaction to B times F7. You know, so he played this E4. Trying to in order to take on C7 with check.
Mm-hmm.
So I went ahead and played knight E3.
Mm-hmm.
Took king D8. After knight takes here, the question is, does that
It's just complete tactics, Kevin.
I think he's lost there. Yeah, he's lost there.
Yeah, he's lost there.
Yeah.
He's lost there. Yeah. Let me see if I can get back. See if I can get back to. So I think E4 was trying too hard. So he played this, and then the move I think he overlooked was this move, QH5.
What does it do?
Because I think he thought that after he took the rook,
Mm-hmm.
after he takes the rook, he'll be able to recapture the knight.
And you're now looking at NH2. You're pinning the knight and looking at NH2. Really neat, Kevin.
Yeah,
Really neat.
Yeah, so
That's not an easy move to find.
yeah. So he took NH2, and he's really struggling now. So he's trying to make some play against the king, but it's too late. Knight E5. Orrington Singh really liked this move. Knight E5. He said, "Boy, this shows fear." Rather than allow him to regroup, just went straight at the juggler.
Alright, so one sec, Kev, hailing up the United Chess League, who has raided with 12. So I appreciate it. We're walking down memory lane in Jamaican chess. We're looking at the first time a Jamaican player beat a 2,500 player. Additionally, one of our great players, international arbiter and national master Robert Wheeler, passed last week. So we're going to go through a couple of his games against grandmasters. International master Shane Matthews will be taking us through. I am international master Jomo Peterson, and we're walking down memory lane. So welcome. Alright, Kev.
Okay. Yes, so at this point now, he takes with check and then tries to pin, but it's much too late now. Knight check, and then actually, I think this is wrong. I think I played this move. All right. I must tell you this, Jomo. The Philippines, they did not publish this game in the Olympiad Bulletin. It was not published. Every other game. Right? Obviously, he can't play this because of
BG4.
Bishop check. Right? So he played here, and I took to check. He plays here, and then totally lost here. The bishop along with the knight. He plays here, and then I just decided that I would just simplify, and he resigned here.
Tell me your emotions, because you're now the first Jamaican, this is in 1992, and the first Jamaican ever to beat a 2500 player at that time, something unheard of in the Caribbean. How did you feel at this moment?
Well, I felt, first of all, I felt elated that I was able to give Jamaica an unexpected point at the Olympia, and I also, by this time, a lot of persons had gathered around the game. One person who had gathered was Viswanathan Anand, right? A lot of persons don't know that Anand spent a lot of time, right? So he knew the Philippines players very well. And when he walked and started watching the game, he couldn't believe it. So he just stayed there
transfixed watching it, yeah.
And yes. And a lot of persons had gathered around. And I remember John Powell of blessed memory coming to me and giving me a beer hug.
And anybody know Paul was a big man.
John is not the smallest person around, right? And we were just so elated as a team, and the team, John said, this has sent that Jamaica chess has arrived, and as I said, I was just proud that I was able to bring it home. Antonio was very gracious in defeat. He obviously was quiet, but he summoned up the strength to analyze the game with me, and he analyzed it with myself and Neil Fairclough, and I was very impressed with his vision and his tactical awareness. So I don't want anybody thinking that he was, like a tyro. He's a very good player.
Yeah, 2500 though, Kev. Nobody could ever think that in 1992. It's a wonderful thing. And one of the things, Kevin, with this is that you get to pass on to this generation of players, because we have a lot of 14, 13-year-olds in the crowd. What advice would you give them when facing somebody this strong?
Do not be intimidated. Do not be intimidated. Chess is a game that you start from an equal position. So do not believe that because someone has a title in front of his name, it means that automatically that you will lose. If you pair against a strong player, almost invariably you will lose.
Yep. So therefore, no fear.
You need to have that self-belief And that self-belief must be buttressed by preparation, right? But do not be fearful. As I said, when he played the Bishop times F7, I could have stayed there in a trance for an hour, you know, looking at the board. But once I realized that if I don't take this piece, then I'm lost. Then take it and let him think on his time, you know. So have the confidence that you can do it. It's just a matter of backing yourself. Now when he's thinking on his time, the follow-up, then you go into your you go and you analyze all the variations, you know. But back yourself. Do not be intimidated, right? And oftentimes fortune favors the brave in chess.
Well said. Well said, National Master Kevin Brown, passing on the knowledge to a new generation of players. And as I said, for players like myself, when I saw this victory, Kevin, it inspired. And years after, there was no fear, very little fear. When you have the 2,600 players in front of you, you actually think, hold on, Kevin did this, Kevin did this, Kevin did this. I told Shane that I saw it with Aaron Sabier, a game that was one of my special games. But this, as a 14-year-old, when you did this, it was wow for me. Really, really wow. And I thank you for sharing this to the new generation of chess players. Not even my generation, because the generation is 2 generations after me now, Kev, that's actually watching and learning from us. And I thank you. On one of the Monday nights, Kevin, you're definitely coming back to give your entire life story. Not just the snippet about this, but you know, last week we did International Master Shane Matthews. It's called Mondays with PCI. Then we did Warren on Monday Gone. And for everybody who has not watched it, you should go and hear how the journey to become a master, all the ups and downs. It's not a smooth road. And worse, when you're in a Caribbean country or a third world country, the road is a little harder. So you should go and check that out. Kev, apart from this tonight, we have Shane paying a tribute to Bob, and we had a couple moments of silence in previous ones. And Jamaica is mourning, but we have to celebrate the chess that was played by Robert Wheeler. So Shane, take it over.
Okay. Yes. I don't know when we'll see another Robert Wheeler. I mean, you know, what a character. And I mean, I saw in the WhatsApp group some comments about his jokes. And if you remember Joma, a lot of those times at the Olympiad, it could be at the dining table when we're all sitting down eating together as a team. Bob would just come up with some of the weirdest jokes, but
the
can't get that
jokes.
all of us bursting with laughter.
Yeah, and it kept team chemistry together. Which game did you choose today, Shane? Which game did you choose?
Okay. Let me start off, Jojo, with a little history about Bob Wheeler. I mean, the youngsters would have seen Mr. Wheeler and didn't know the history behind Bob's journey to Jamaica. Bob was originally born in Germany, for those who may not have known. And then he had moved to England and was living with England with his family, and came down to Jamaica in 1973 on a teaching contract with Woolmer's boys. Kevin would probably remember, but when I started playing chess at high school level, and we were playing against Woolmer's, that is the first time I think I met Bob Wheeler. No, not the first time. I saw him at Taylor Hall when I just got introduced to chess. But he would travel with the Woolmer's team as their coach, and you know, with their backing, you know that Woolmer's was going to be throwing some punches, man.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. But I have here with me, Joma, some of the things that I captured, some of the history of Jamaican chess that was going on before my time. Of course, all of this could be captured in Bertram Scott's new book. But I have here a copy of the 1977 chess bulletin that was published in, yes, January. And this was a bulletin that was done, I think, twice yearly during the chess renaissance in the 70s. This is the cover of the, I don't think you can make it out, but that's Bob Wheeler on the cover.
And this is from the 1970s.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Because Bob, whilst he was teaching at Wolmer's, there was also an active player. One goes by the name of Gilbert Smith. Gilbert Smith was a teacher at Wolmer's, and he was very much active in the Chess Federation events. And so, having found out about Wheeler's interest in chess, it wasn't long before Bob Wheeler got introduced to the Jamaica Chess Federation and started taking part in these events. So there was the genesis of Bob Wheeler's interaction with the Jamaica Chess Federation and Jamaican chess. And as I say, the rest is history.
Okay. So you chose which game? So this is against Grandmaster.
Yes, Grandmaster Guillermo Garcia, who was a very strong Cuban chess player at the time. He later on migrated to Colombia and represented for Colombia. Now, I chose this game not just because of the result, but at the time, Jomo, in an interview conducted by John Powell, the late John Powell, Bob Wheeler was asked by John Powell, what was your most memorable game since you came to Jamaica in 1973? And this game was chosen by Bob, and I thought that this was a game that then I had to show to our audience, because I mean this game would have been played in 1976.
Yeah. That's a game that he spoke about, which he spoke about this game fondly.
And this was from an event that was it was called the Students Olympiad, World Students Olympiad. And it was a strong team that went to Venezuela to participate and represent Jamaica. The only strong player who would have been absent was Dr. Harold Shannon. And of course, I guess by the definition of student, I suppose Dr. Chan, who would have been a much older in comparison to the rest of the team, would not have been qualified to represent at the Student Olympiad. But nonetheless, let's go into the game, Jomo.
Yeah, man.
National Master Robert Wheeler is wheeling the white pieces. And at the time, playing normal, let's just say normal, because, you know...
Hold on, Kev, there's some feedback on your end, Kev. There's a little feedback on your end.
Some interference.
Yeah, I think it's on Kevin's end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's on Kevin's end.
Alright, let's continue. So Bob opened D4, Knight F6, C4, and he is faced with the Northern. And I'm sure Shreyas would love to see this, and of course
I'm sure he probably has, because Shreyas studied with Bob towards the end, so I'm sure Shreyas probably has.
Indeed. And of course I think Rosa will now playing the Benoni in his
yeah, and he'll be interviewed on Monday, Shane. So next Monday on PCI we'll have Ro. Shreyas confirming that he has seen it.
I wanted to just include some um, of your comments on this game.
Yeah.
Right, so the game would continue as normal. Um, it's the
Hold on.
hold on. Yeah, there's Kevin.
Yeah. And we'll unmute. Yeah, continue, Shane.
Okay. Right, so C5, D5, and now D6. And let me just, yeah. Now this, after D6, knight C3, G6, E4, bishop G7, knight F3, castles, bishop E2, and now E6. Now this, you may call this a delayed Benoni, and it was popular at the time, and it was one of those systems used to prevent some of the more aggressive white systems against the Benoni, which includes the BB5 check line as well as the F4.
The F4 flick line.
Yes. So this was one of the systems that was chosen by Black at the time. Castle, PD, and CD, of course, going into the Benoni. Of course, this is another way of treating it, and it will become, the position will be more or less just a simple King's Indian defense with early exchanges, where Black doesn't really have much problems in this position.
Yeah.
But CD5 is the Benoni. Okay. So let's continue here. Rook E8. Immediately, the Grandmaster is now pressuring the pawn at E4, and we know the typical maneuver. The knight goes to D2 and goes to C4, where as soon as White can cover the E4 square, and then with the knight at C4, it's going to put pressure on the D6 square. So let's just see how Bob handles the white side of this Benoni against Grandmaster Garcia. Alright, so knight D2, the typical maneuver, and Black plays A6. We know in the Benoni again, Black goes for the expansion with B5, and White has to slow this down, and typically that's best done with A4. So nothing new here, it's all, let's say, theory. And knight BD7. Bob secures F3 now because he wants to further position his knight from D2 to F4. Maybe the bishop can go to F4 or G5, maybe a move or two down the road. But this is clearly with the team of the Benoni. So Black is going to strive for expansion on the queen side, and he does so with Rook B8. Of course, 3 pieces are still covering B5, so there's no hurry. But Bob goes for the immediate knight C4. Let me just give you some of Bob's comments here. Black plays knight to B6. If instead queen to bishop 2, Bob gives a little analysis here, and he says bishop to F4, further pressuring the D6 square. And White will basically have a nice target here against the pawn at D6. So Black would be almost forced to play knight to King 5. Alright, so let's go back here. Of course, bishop to F8 is a move, but White is having a field day. So instead of queen there, the GM plays knight to B6. Of course, we don't analyze this move because that's just leaving the pawn at D6 unguarded.
Yeah.
So knight to B6. Bob continues with knight to A3. And a curious move. And basically, Bob is saying he's just trying to avoid exchanges.
So,
Because at the end of the day, if Black can't expand on the queen side, then his position tends to be a bit cramped. Because the question can be asked, what is he going to do with the BC8? And this having the pawns at the pawn chain at D5, E4 and F3, then this bishop at the C8 is not really having much room. And if it goes to D7, then it's taken away a nice retreat square for the knight at B6. Because a move like bishop to D7 may encourage A5. Because in some variations, white wants to play A5. And the knight, I don't see the knight going back to A8, but it could. But again, when the white knight goes back to D5, then it's a clear spatial advantage for white, and black position is very cramped. So Bob is playing to the team of avoiding exchanges with this knight to A3 move. So seemingly strange, but to the team. So Bob is avoiding exchanges. A nice thing to do, especially against a very strong player. You're not trying to swap pieces, you're trying to keep him in a cramped position.
Yep. And it's important to do against the Benoni. Don't let those pieces get exchanged.
Correct. So the GM goes ahead with bishop d7 because he really has nothing better to do. He has to expand on the queen side. Bob plays a5, which is to the team, and knight c8. Not knight a8 as we just looked at. And here, knight goes back to c4, the active square. Alright, so in this position we can see d6 has a new defender, the knight at c8. But if you are a GM playing against a 2200 rated, well, I said 2200 rated. Of course, we never had any feeder rated Jamaicans at the time. But, you don't want to be in this kind of position, a cramped position, against supposedly weaker opponents. You're a GM by far. So the GM now looking to lash out, plays queen c7. At some point, he's going to have to try to go for maybe b6 or some action on the king side. Yeah. So white has a big space advantage, and he has time to consider what he wants to do now to press on. He could try bishop to d3 with f4, but the structure that he has there, he's probably not going for that as yet. And Bob goes for a more quiet positional way of rook e1, because one of the things that white is striving to do is e5, because with the knight no longer at d7, he can get control over d5 with bishop f4, bishop g3, maybe a queen d2 move, and eventually try to push in e5 when the conditions suit him. Rook e7. The GM is just marking time here. Bishop f1. Bob is just slowly improving. By no means not setting up for the next game, but we know Bob's style. Bob is playing to his style. Knight e8. So we see what is happening here. Some maneuvering is going on, and Bob is quite capable to match this type of maneuvering with the GM. Rook a2. Rook a2.
Not a normal move, Shane. Rook a2. Is it that he's envisioning that b5 will be played and then he's putting pressure, starting to look to put pressure on a6 later on? Or is it that he's looking to protect b2 in case of knights moving and walking into b6? It's one of those moves that let you stop and wonder exactly why.
I'm trying to get back there down to that position here, Zoma.
Really interesting.
Yes. But it's I've seen this type of maneuver in the Retian English systems, where having played a3 and b3, and you maneuver the rook this way to double
on e file or d file.
Right, especially if you want to keep back a piece on the back rank, and so you're connecting rooks play a more unique way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Rook A2 and then rook to E2 or D1 depending on where the king's rook happens to be. But yes, of course. I'm not see. I'm seeing a comment here, but it's a photocopy and I can hardly make it out.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a comment here. Something about the queen's bishop from the defense of the queen's side.
Right.
So
He wants
I'm
to
not
develop
sure
the
if
bishop.
it is that. Yes.
He wants to play bishop
He wants to
f4.
play,
Bishop
push the
f4.
pawn to b3 at some point, but of course the knight is hanging at c3.
Yeah. So
But yeah.
if you look, Shane, where's the weakness? D6. So you want to play
Mhm.
bishop f4 at some point. I
Right.
like that weak b6 square, so maybe a knight a4 also to be hitting him at different points. So
Correct.
you don't want to leave that b2 pawn, forget about it, and in the middle of your combination you have to stop and go whoa 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 b2. So that's
Right.
interesting. That's interesting.
I'm going to just go two more moves because he posted a picture in the bulletin after the next two moves there. So black plays knight here. Now I've played some systems in the Benoni where typically my knight would find the b5 square, but usually after knight a6 to knight c7. So this knight has moved several times and is now heading to b5. And Bob now plays bishop to f4. And now black plays bd5 check. And he gives his position on the board. You know, but before the check, because this is in the old English notation to Jomo, so that's making it also.
Yeah, Kev, I had fun
That's
inputting
well.
it. I had fun. Sorry, Shane, inputting it earlier on. My son was laughing at me because he had never seen that notation, and he saw me reeling through, and he was like, "Wow, Daddy, even the notations get better." So it was so funny.
I tell you, I
It
tell
was
you.
so funny.
And it's very challenging for me to see here, but if some analysis that he gives here because he apparently he found this position very interesting. Instead of bishop check, he said that if black instead chooses knight to b5, right, which is given as knight to knight 4 in the whole English notation, then after knight takes knight, he must reply bishop takes knight. And then there is a move here. He says bishop takes knight takes queen pawn. Right. Apparently this is supposed to be a tactic because if black plays knight takes knight.
With e5 and d6.
Then you know e5 and yeah.
e5
but,
and d6.
Right. But
Yeah.
there's an intermediate move that this fails to.
Bishop
This check.
King over.
Yeah. Yeah. Because after king here, then the analysis goes knight takes knight. And
e5. What
That's
happens
not-
at e5?
that's wrong. Man, I tell you, there are two challenges here, you know, my vision and the printout as well as the king to rook one. Okay. Yeah, it stops there already. It stops there. And there's another analysis that if instead of bishop takes knight, if pawn takes knight instead, then white can plunge into the complications
With knight d6
with knight
again.
takes with this.
Yeah, knight d6 again. And e5,
Right.
d6 coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bob showing him tactics, man.
Yeah, right. So this is all interesting. So Bob calculated this at the board, and apparently the GM would have seen the complications as well, and so opted for the check first, this intermediate move first. Alright, so king goes, and no knight to knight 4. Knight to b5. Okay, so Bob continues with this move. And now rook. Again, potential possibilities of f4 down the road as well too. Or just to pile up, maybe with queen f4. Bob has ideas here. h3. Again, Bob is playing his style. You know, he's in no hurry. Bishop to d3. And I guess at some point he's going to bring that queen's rook over into the game. So the GM, you know, in the Benoni, black has to always try to keep some eye on the e5 square, and he's now playing f6. I guess with the possibility of getting that bishop over. And Bob is just holding here. And he's going to bring this rook back into the game. Knight comes over. G3. Rook there. Rook to f1. Knight covers the weakness produced at g3. Knight d4. A couple of exchanges here. And Bob now plays f4. And this is perhaps timely now that, you know, you've gotten rid of black's dark square bishop. So you don't want to, you have to now challenge the dark squares. And Bob is now a pawn up against the GM. Of course, black's bishop can claim to be a little bit better than the light square bishop, and black has a target on e4, and if he's successful in that, then d5 becomes also a second target. But Bob is not having any of it.
And as Fisher is saying, the grind, Bob just grinding away.
Yeah.
Just grinding away.
And in this position, a draw was agreed. Bob is a pawn up, and there's no clear-cut way that the GM can forcefully win back the pawn.
Okay.
So a draw was agreed, and that was probably the first draw in a one-on-one matchup with a GM by a Jamaican.
And this was in what year was this, Shane? 1976.
76.
Wow, so that's before most of our audience was even alive, and I was 2 years old at that time. And Bob was already drawing with grandmasters. Wow.
Yes,
that's
and
fantastic.
I think this was well, I would have just learned the game 2 years before when I at 10.
Shane, giving away your age, you know, man.
Yes, well, you know. So this
me.
was a remarkable result because Cuba won the, not the tournament, but they won the preliminary section. I think in this group, there was Cuba, which topped the group, and Brazil, which came second. And there were other countries like Puerto Rico, Japan, Jamaica, and Antigua.
So Kevin, can unmute? Unmute a second, Kevin. I think you're on mute. Yeah, as a young man, did you know about this game? As a young player, did you know about this game?
You know, I did not. I did not. And this is one of the good things that you are doing right now, Jomo, because you are exposing the young chess players to our history. And it's very important that if we are going to build a chess philosophy, that we understand what our predecessors have done.
Yes, I agree.
And the various style of our successful players over the years, and the understanding. Bob was a positional player, and he liked quiet positions, quiet maneuverings, you know. I must say that um, my style and his provided quite a contrast at
Just
times.
yep.
and, and it led to some quite interesting battles, you
Battles.
know.
I can
But
imagine.
yeah. But this was a fantastic experience because achievement because the Cubans, as you know, they are right at the top of
Yeah.
And this
the
is
pyramid.
1976, Kev. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, right at the top. So this was a phenomenal achievement. You know, so kudos again to to our predecessors and to what Bob has brought to chess in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Um, and I must just add this that Bob was not just but and he contributed out to the secretariat of Jamaican chess, you know. And let me just say, I also would like to know Bob as a man who kept the neatest score sheet you could ever find in chess.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
when you look at Bob's score sheet, his notations very neat.
Yes,
And no
Very
cross
neat.
out, no cross
very,
out. When they make a decision, they
yes,
make the decision.
yes.
Always
Yeah,
in
man.
control.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
No
a very
cross out.
organized mind. Very organized. Mhm.
Very, very. So one of this is what we're going to leave with, Kev, is his last victory internationally, which is a touching moment for us. This was in 2016 World Seniors, and Shane will walk us through his last victory over the board in an international tournament representing Jamaica. So Shane,
Excellent.
yeah,
Excellent.
Alright, so I go into that game here now, Jomo.
yeah,
And again, I must praise Ian Wilkinson as well because he was also there to egg on Bob as well, and these two, I don't know if you want to call him Abbott and Costello, but they were a nice pair.
yeah,
And going up to the senior events, I think they went up together in back-to-back years, and it's nice when you have a second person because when I travel to this same event on my own, it can be challenging, but it's nice when you have the company. And I really regret that I didn't get a chance to travel to one of these events with
wow,
Bob. And they spoke highly of it, and I was able to travel and see it for myself. And in so doing, Ian, likes to give man daily reports. He's going to be very, very. He's not going to leave
meticulous.
anything.
Yeah,
Not
meticulous
going
in
to
his
leave
report.
anything out. Meticulous, and articulate.
And
Well detailed.
so one thing,
And
Shane, for the viewers who don't know, Kevin is why we have Ian in chess. So Kevin is solely. I want to leave that though, Kev. Don't get the story because, as I say, you're coming back Monday night because there's too much about your chess history for us to just cover it in a game. But we'll give the teaser there. Kevin is why we got Ian Wilkinson into chess. All right, go on, Shane. We keep that for when
okay,
Kevin having story.
right, yeah, man. All right, so we just looked at a game that Bob played, which a lot of us would have recognized that are very dear to his style. Positional and maneuvering. And I had asked Jomo for us to showcase this game because it also showed another side of Bob that we don't see too often, and this was that Bob was capable of displaying some tactics. It wasn't all about just positional. And of course, this is a Bob, not in 1976 as the game we just saw, but several years later in a World Seniors. So let's without much ado, let's go. So Bob is playing the white pieces here against a 2100 rated player. So not a weak player. 2100 by any means
So,
is capable.
yeah, black is black.
Um,
Bob is black here.
and so Bob is black here.
Yeah, man.
So Bob is playing against E4 and C5. Now when you see Bob play C5 and not this typical, let's say French, because a lot of my games against Bob with the white pieces, when I play the white pieces, Bob would wheel a French or an Alekin against me. And is in my last game with Bob that I played in the local senior event last year, Bob played C5. So I was pleased to see him play C5 in my game, and very much pleased to have seen his performance in this game playing the Sicilian, because I know Bob was capable of playing these tactical maneuvers as well, not just positional. Alright, so knight C3, E6, F4. Knight C6. Bob is going on to play very active here. He's not going to just sit back and let White have his big spatial advantage. Bob play, Ferdinand plays Bishop B5. This is going back into the Rosalimo variation of the Sicilian defense. And Bob plays Knight G7. A useful move, having played E6. Black is saying to White, okay, you want to play Bishop to C6, no problem, but I am not going to destroy my pawn formation. I'm going to recapture with my knight at E7 and still maintain some control over the D4 squares, and I can counter with D6 or D5 at will. So knight F3 and now A6. In order to have my knight to recapture and C6, if White wants to pass with the bishop, I am more than able to kick this bishop. White is not interested in that trade and plays Bishop E2. Okay, now move D5. Black wants to continue with a close center and plays D5, E5. Okay, so in this position, Bob's only bad piece really is the Bishop C8. Yes, his bishop is still at F8, but we know that bishop has a future at G7 when the knight moves. And so Bob decides that, alright, we're going to play to Aaron Nimzovic's principles. My pawn chain is pointing to the queen side. My pawn chain, D5, E6, and F7. So I'm going to expand on the queen side. I place A3 and Bob plays Queen B6, and this move is symbolic of Bob. Bob is in no hurry because the center is locked, and as a French player he knows how to play these positions, and he's going to just wait and see what kind of structure it is that White wants. So at the moment he's preventing White from going immediately to D4. White castles, and this is what this next move is what strikes me as what kind of position it is that Bob is going for. Bob is not looking for any one of those long positional maneuvering. Does anybody want to get some Bob's move here? I don't know. What move does the audience think that Bob plays here?
I'm waiting to see. I say B4, Laban goes B4, Shiraz goes H5. So we have B4 and H5.
Give that man Shreyas a drink, because
Shiraz know the game.
As young as Shreyas seems to know Bob's style, and you know,
we have
goes H5.
Yeah, but we need to ban him because Bob and him study the game.
Oh, I see. H5. And this goes along with a theme I have played in the past, where, you know, in some of my Khan and Paulson variations, I opt to go bishop c5
Yeah, okay, sure.
and retreat the bishop. And especially when white castles and goes f4, this h5 maneuver is very annoying to the white position because in a lot of the systems, h5 is supporting a knight g4 move. And there is serious harassment um, from black with this knight g4 and bishop on the g1 a7 diagonal, because there's potential threats at h2 with the queen still at c7 and the diagonal. And if white opts to pick the knight at h3, black leaves it because he cannot capture it, because that rook at h8 is staring down at the king, whether it's at g1 or h1, because there are potential mates on the h file. And so this maneuver h5 is also unique here because black wants to position his knight at f5, but he wants to cement it at f5 and not allow white the kingside expansion with g4. So we'll see how the game proceeds. So white plays knight to h4, try to discourage the immediate knight f5. Black plays g6 because I can still play knight f5 a move or two down the road and recapture with my g pawn, and now have an open g file against your castle king. And with a future development of bishop going to b7, I now have a rook at g8 and a bishop at b7, and a battery at g2, because I have potential of d4, because this is one of the ideas with black's early queen b6. Black has the control over the d4 square, and white has to remove one of his defenders of d4 with this knight h4 sally. Alright, so the game continues with bishop f3 and Bob quite aggressively knight d4. And I will just make a comment here too. Jomo, you may remember, I don't quite remember which Olympiad it was, but we were doing some preparation for an Olympiad, and I think we had invited, again, this was kudos to Ian Wilkinson, Maurice Ashley, and he came down and did some sessions with the Olympiad team, and I think it was a couple of us were attending. It wasn't just the team. I think a few others were involved. And one of the comments that Maurice made, he looked at the how pieces, he looked at, I'm trying to remember his choice of words, but it was very fluid, like water. And he said, a position like this, white moves his control. Well, he doesn't have control over it, but he moves his knight from the center, from d4.
A key the chess.
And in so doing,
Stuart has a good
allows my
memory.
knight to flow in to d4. He was using this kind of, I think he used a terminology.
A key the chess.
You remember no pat?
Yeah.
I think Warren might remember it as well too. No pat.
No pat.
But this knight comes out, so my knight can flow in. It was a terminology that stayed with me as well over the years. So after the next two moves, my knight flows in out to d4. Okay, so the game continues. d3, bishop b7. So where black seemed a little bit cramped a lot earlier. Let's go back to move 6. It looks a little strange here. And if you look at this position, the bishop at c8, as I said earlier, had a little question mark over it. But look at the position that we have arrived to. Just a few moves later, 10 moves later, and we can see that it is black who is taking the game to white. After a move like knight to f5, and he still has not yet decided where he wants to actively place this bishop, because in some lines I may want to play c4 and maybe bishop to c5, but we'll see how Bob executed this gem. So white is now trying to tackle the d4 square with the other knight, potential c3 as well, because he can't keep that knight there forever, because that knight is what they call it, the octopus knight. It's hitting at a lot of squares in that center. So Bob, again, I'm going too fast. Again here, I'll just make the comment. Again, the principle is the same from this idea. Knight e7. You see, he wants to recapture the knight with the other knight. So he's retaining the benefits of what this knight at c6 is doing. When we go back here, sorry, he is showing that if you capture the knight at d4, then I'm going to recapture with the knight. So I retain the benefits of a knight at d4. So instead of capturing the knight at d4, he captures the one at f5. And now Bob basically captures back with the knight, because I guess this way is losing its effectiveness, because simply knight takes d4, and black still has some play here, but white is better because of the target at h5, and yes, you have this pressure on c2, but I think white game is a lot easier than it should be. Yeah. So clearly the recapturing of f5 with the knight is to the team of opposition, and this retains some plus for black, because you can see the expansion that has taken place on the queen side. All right, so white now plays c3, so he has gained the control over the d4 square. That is what black has done. White has done. So black is continuing to expand and develop his queen side. White plays bishop d2, and Bob decides that he's going to put his bishop at e7. Will he castle king side? Wait and see. Queen to e1. No, I'm not castling on that side. I'm simply improving my bishop. So even though the game came down to some tactics here earlier, Bob is now exercising and showing his positional prowess. g3. After this move, Bob decides to do something else. He shuffles back. Again, the position has changed because Bob is eyeing some potential idea with further queenside expansion. Queen here, c4, and this is what Bob is working for. d4. All right, so white doesn't want to open the position with any swaps, and he doesn't want the bishop entering the game with bishop c5, but black still has future expansion on the queen side, because he can play a future a5, and at a timely b4, black has better play on the queen side. The only question is, what is Bob going to do with his king? But with a locked center, Bob is not really interested in castling, and we'll see Bob's intention over the next couple of games, the couple of moves. Bishop c6, h3. White wants to kick that knight at f5 with a future g4. Bob sees that, and so he's not going over the king side. Rook b8, king h2, and now a5. So we see his Bob plans. Queen f2, king d7. Bob is connecting his rooks because he wants to now double the rooks on the queen side and proceed with b4, and he's winning on the queen side. White sees that, and he's going to try and take some coverage over the b4 square, but he can't stop it. Rook b7, again the slow maneuvering, typical of Bob style. Knight c1, b4, ab, knight a2, b3, knight c1. Now rook a7. Bob has control over the a file, and he also has a potential target Noting some endgame positions, we see this thing where a bishop can sacrifice itself at a3, and you can't take, but then I win the pawn at b2. So it's a big advantage here for black in this position. Queen takes, knight e2, rook a8, bishop c1, queen b6, queen f2, and now he's going to apply the pressure. And I mean, I don't recall the ending of this game, but I know that at some point Bob is going to pressure that b pawn some more. Rook d1, queen a7, queen g1, and you see what Baba is doing now.
Oh.
He's now taking advantage of this pressure on the first rank. Look at how tied up all of black's pieces are, and this knight at f5. This knight at f5 is just sitting there. So only until white decides that he can push in with g4, this knight is going to be forever a threat. And we're going to see how Bob continue with this maneuver. Queen a2, knight e2. So white has decided that there's nothing that he can do. He's now just trying to hold. Bishop a4, g4. Change of heart, because knight h4, king g3, and up parts with this knight. King f3, and the maneuver that we had discussed before finally comes. Bishop a3.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because he can't defend this pawn, so he has to take. And of course, having taken, that allows b2. You see what is happening? The bishop at a4 is unmasking his attack on the rook d1.
Nice game,
and
man.
so this bishop d1, yeah.
Nice game.
So Bob would have foreseen this sack, this idea when he played bishop to a4, because he's already eyeing the idea of bishop to a3, and hitting the rook at d1. But White didn't see that, and Bob goes for it. So he's removing the defender of the d1 square, and now bishop a3. Nicely executed. Nicely executed. And this is the game. This is the move that that White resigns.
Yeah.
Because if you look, material is still equal at this point, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Material is still equal at this point. I mean, White is actually a pawn, but this is how Bob proceeds.
Bishop d1, and we have Shiraz saying, "Imagine the bad bishop win the game." That's funny.
Yes. The bad bishop comes to end the game.
Yeah.
It's knight at e2, and there's absolutely no defense.
None.
Yeah, and then rook, and then he probably saw that, he thought that rook b2 was not playable because of this move. But this move.
Oh, nice.
So,
that is
still
nice.
attacking e2 and the queen.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What a fitting combination as the last
Mm-hmm.
international victory for the great Babu Wheeler. Shane,
Right.
I love the selections of the game.
Because there was a lot of tactics in the middle portion of that game,
Mm-hmm.
and then it came down to a positional finish.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bob came back and found this maneuver with bishop a4. I mean, we could see the team with bishop a3, but the way he conducted it was nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I really happy to see this game. Kev?
Yes, that queen c2 at the end is lovely,
pretty, man. Pretty.
Yes.
Very pretty.
Just calmly pull back a square.
Yes.
It's pretty.
Mhm.
Alright, so sorry, Shane, you're saying something else?
I was just about to just volunteer some additional information with Bob, because Bob was very affectionate to young chess players as well, because when I went to my first Olympiad back in '82 in Lucerne, and it was I don't remember who had posted it, but I think Claire Clark had this set of pictures and it was posted in the group, and there was
Yeah,
a
clear.
picture
Mm-hmm.
of us at the airport with Orin, Bob, and myself. You know, I was just 18 years old at the time, and of course, this was only my second time traveling, and it was Bob who I traveled with because he had offered to for me to stay at his parents' home when we had to transit in London because this was at Heathrow, and we traveled on the tubes, the subway,
Mm-hmm.
to Bob's, and I met Bob's parents and his brother and sister, and you know they took me in, and his mom took me in like one of her own, you know. Yes.
Why? Some amazing memories,
Oh
boy.
gosh.
Amazing memories. So,
Mhm.
Shane, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Kevin, thanks for walking
Yes,
down
Joe.
thank you for walking down memory lane with us. That game against Antonio was really, really inspirational for me as a young player. And I am happy that you got to present it to a new generation of players. As I said, book a Monday, me and you going to talk because I want your entire life story, read chess, read becoming a doctor, everything. And hopefully we can do that early August where we can just sit down and drink coffee and play blitz. Cause that's the theme. You have to play blitz against the youngsters while you talk about your history. Shane gets some licks, Warren gets some licks. But all of it was fun. All of it was fun.
Yes.
Shane, I appreciate, yeah.
Yes.
And the lessons you left with the young players about never being afraid. If you're afraid, you lose already. So believe that you can beat anybody and go in there with confidence is one that I will ensure resonates over and over in their heads. So I really appreciate
That's
that.
right. And even if the game, don't let it be a pattern. So you pick yourself up and get ready for the next game.
Yeah.
But don't let your spirit drop. You know?
So
That's right.
Yeah, definitely. Shane, thanks for choosing the games, boy. Because I was having a difficult time choosing, and you said to me, Jomo, this one and this one.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate it.
Man, Joe, I'm always willing to lend a helping hand and support in any which way I can, man. And because this is a good thing, not just because of the situation that we found ourselves in since 2020, but we know we can see that chess in Jamaica is taking off.
It's growing.
And I mean, I remember watching the match. Was it Sunday or Monday? When Darren beat Christopher Yu,
Yeah.
that was a big thing,
Yeah, no. US under 14
really
champion.
happy with what's happening with us. I see Damien doing his thing as well.
Yeah, man.
I mean, we're anytime, man, anytime.
I really appreciate it. So Kevin, our under 14 champion on Saturday in Jamaica against South Korea. He played for South Korea.
Yeah.
And the world number 4 under 14 player, US under 14 champion, was beaten by our under 14 champion in that match. So that was
Excellent.
huge. Yeah, so it was showcased in Warren's thing on Monday, so you can go back and see it. Alright guys, so we'll announce
Thanks for having me, Joe.
I really appreciate it, Kevin. This meant a lot to me. And instead of signing off, I see that Orlando Husbands is having a stream that's going on now. So let's go read that stream, see what he's doing. And remember, play chess, enjoy it. I'll tell you when the next PCI match is. And on Saturday we play Bahamas. So we'll be covering Jamaica against Bahamas Saturday in the Nations Cup. And Monday we will be having the next PCI Blitz and Coffee with the candidate master doing in row. So until then, let's go see what Orlando doing. And let's go enjoy that.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Right.